Joining us now is Shaun Murray, a four-time world champion wakeboarder with a remarkable story to share. Shaun's family's journey with Parkinson's highlights the importance of passion and dedication in facing life's challenges. Let's give a warm welcome to Shaun Murray.
So it was just recently that I was at this event. There was a table like this, and I had a bunch of 12-year-old kids sitting around. I had just finished coaching them for the day. And we're having a meal, and one of the kids looks at me and goes, "When was your first board?" And I said, "Well, first wakeboard I ever rode or my first pro model?" And he said, "Your first pro model." And I thought, 97. And he looks at me and goes, "Like in the 1900s?" And I looked at him and I went, "Yeah. That's a thing." Thanks for the joke, Matthew. So my name is Shaun Murray. I've been wakeboarding professionally for almost 30 years. And why am I standing here? So we're gonna go back a little ways. I was born in Southern California, the middle of three boys in a very active household. Our parents were our baseball coaches, our scout leaders. We would go camping during the summertime. We traveled a lot. And it had a lot to do with the fact that my dad was a captain for TWA. Who remembers TWA, Trans World Airlines, right? So he was a captain. My mom was a flight attendant. Do the math. We are the answer, my brothers and I. And so we were always doing things. One of the things that we did was we moved from Southern California to St. Louis, Missouri, right in the middle of the country from the Southern California coastline, but we moved on to a lake. We had been water skiing, and wakeboarding wasn't even invented when we moved there. It was just getting started. So we found ourselves just all the time water skiing, having fun. And then I found out if you move to Central Florida, you can be on a water ski team at a college. I'm going to Florida. Don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm getting there. Fast forward, that's kind of a story as how I became a professional wakeboarder, but I rode on the pro tour for 20 years. I won the world championships 4 times. I have my own video game on Xbox and PS2, so I got to sit next to these guys, Tony Hawk and Kelly Slater, and I'm like, what am I doing here, like with these guys? But that's where I've been. I stopped competing about 10 years ago, but I still wakeboard professionally. That's all I do. But I don't just get on the water. What I do is now I'm a content creator or a YouTuber. So if you're familiar with people who do YouTube content, they get to share a message. And the cool thing about it is now I get to share my message. So when I was riding for all these companies, I still ride for a lot of the same ones. But when I was riding for them, I would just provide the riding and go win competitions, but I didn't get to share my message that I didn't realize was happening. I didn't realize that my upbringing of always staying active is how I continued to stay active. And that's just what, it's crazy, the fact, like, we didn't really talk about this. I was sitting in my parents' appointment with Dr. Benes, and it was a natural conversation when I said, well, my dad, he goes wake surfing, right? And you're gonna meet my dad here in a second. And we're like, what's wake surfing? I showed him the video. We're like, well, let's go talk at this thing. And to see that the same message of stay active, what we're gonna do is I want you to get uncomfortable with being yourself. What that means is so much of our lives is about making ourselves comfortable. But if you think about it, the times that you're improving are when you are uncomfortable. Mentally, when you're challenging yourself, physically, it hurts to reach up this high. Well, hold it there for a sec. How long can you do that? Sorry if my armpits are sweaty. But that's what we do is we too often are trying to make ourselves comfortable. I'm 47 years old. I have 3 daughters. We have a trampoline in the backyard, a bunch of things. I built this gym in my backyard that looks like an adult jungle gym because I went to the zoo and I was like, man, the monkeys swing around with such finesse and they're just moving their energy in such a great way. I wanna be monkey strong. So I built a gym in my backyard and I worked out on it for the last 10 years. I don't go to the normal gym because it's not as fun to me. Awesome if you do, But how I do is I try to mix fun with challenges, challenging myself, setting my own goals. And I actually applied for the show. Who's seen American Ninja Warrior on TV, that show? I got to compete on that 4 times. 2 times went really good. The other 2, not so much. But I built a warped wall in my backyard, so I'm always trying to do something. I set a challenge. It's really easy to look at my friend and how many pull-ups or push-ups can he do? Stop basing yourselves upon others. We're shutting ourselves down because of that. Too often, we base our experience upon the reactions of others. Enjoy your experience. I get to the end of the videos that I say that I create now, and I say, enjoy your ride. And what I mean by that is enjoy things for what you're experiencing, not what you hope people are thinking of you. So that's what I get to do. I still get to wakeboard. Have you heard the saying, we don't stop playing because we grow old because we stop playing, right? With that, let's bring up my dad, Lloyd Murray, Captain Belmont Murray.
Wait, we don't have that much time, sure. Wow, what a nice looking group.
Dad, take me back to the early 80s.
82.
Yep, and you had some honest friends.
I had some friends call me and say, hey, did you know you're shaking your head? I panicked. I really panicked. And for the next two months, I went around the country looking at different doctors and options and discovered that I had essential tremor. Now, I know you're going to say, hey, wait a minute, you're supposed to be up here because you have Parkinson's. I do. And thanks to Dr. Benes, we're on track. But
so you're in the 80s, you get diagnosed with tremor, and it was something that was kind of debilitating. It was somewhat embarrassing. Like, we talked about this a little bit, and we noticed, you remember Pac-Man, the stand-up video games? He memorized the levels, and he had this stance. He put his hand on the side of the machine, and he would just conquer it. His name, like, you get the 3 initials. He had like a bunch of the high scores, but we noticed his head was shaking. So we were seeing like stress, and the shake was very connected. And so that was 20 years,
yeah.
Right? But then, 10 years ago, you felt something different in your arm.
Yeah, my hand started having pains. I noticed my right arm was not working like it used to. I was pretty much a computer addict, and it was not a good situation. I had to learn how to do stuff with my left hand. It was not good.
During this time, it was a long process, over a year, of actually someone diagnosing Parkinson's. It was a lot of different things. Kind of a little bit frustrating because you're like, just give me a direction. I want to do something, right? In that time, once you got that diagnosis, then I remember Rocksteady was something you really became part of.
Early on, I met
Cynthia here from Rocksteady. What they're doing is awesome. Like, I went there this last week, and it just goes in line with what we're all saying, like, push yourselves, make yourselves slightly uncomfortable, like, reach a little higher, move, like, think, combine those things. And so that's been a big thing, Rocksteady, correct?
Yeah, I'll say it. I try not to sit around too much. I play the piano, or at least I think I do.
He plays very well.
Some people would argue that.
So while he was doing this, but we were seeing a decline. So once he got the Parkinson's diagnosis, there was this kind of fast decline. And we're like, this disease, like, now that he's got it, it's a decline. But there was a point that it was such a decline that you finally listened to somebody's opinion, because everybody has an opinion, right? You got to go see this doctor. You got to try this diet. You got to do this thing. You were tired of people's opinions.
Everybody had an idea. And let me back up. The first time I went to a Rocksteady class, I'll never forget. In fact, I see a bunch of you back there. Thank you for that. But I remember walking in the class, and I thought, after we were exercising, I said, wow, people here tremor and nobody cares. Because you don't have to be without a tremor. It's fine.
So, but it was to a point, even though that you were now with a diagnosis and on some medications, we were seeing a pretty steep decline. And my sister-in-law, her name is Royce, she pushed really hard, like, you've got to come up to DC and see this other doctor. Just get another opinion. So you finally did.
Yeah, we went to see a doctor in DC, and I left his office with a bunch of Rytari.
A bunch of samples. You got a bunch of samples of Rytari.
I don't want this to sound like a commercial, but it's the truth, and I've been on it ever since. It was great.
And so this is not a plug for Rytari. We have no affiliation to it, but it's only to say we were going down a path that we thought this is it. This is the path that we're going down. He got on Rytari. It was a week later that you felt a difference.
Yeah. Went about 2 weeks. And I said, whoa, to myself. I said, wow, I think something's going on. So I didn't say anything for another week or so, and
we saw a difference.
My wife, also sitting at this table, 53 years, we've been married. Wow.
So we saw such a change. One day I see him out in the driveway, because jump rope is how I warm up in the morning. He had a jump rope and he was kind of starting to do it. And I'm like, he's jumping rope now? So then I was like, all right, game on. You're gonna go wake surfing or wakeboarding. You wanna get on the water? Let's make it happen. I think you can do it. He eventually went for it. And we did this video where he was at 77 years old. Today's 81, 77. It's this compilation of him doing a bunch of stuff, and it was a fun video to produce. So then, every year it's kind of been his goal, I'm gonna get in the water again. We did it again on his 80th birthday, but we went out on the boat, and when we came back from my house, we live 10 minutes from here, and we're coming down the road, and we had him at home, and we had a marching band, like the drum corps. And he had gone wake surfing, and we did this whole thing. It's on YouTube, you can see it. But it was this thing, he's gonna be uncomfortable. He has to put himself out there. He realized sometimes when he's surfing, I've got a tremor, but I'm gonna still do it.
Your question was?
It was an opportunity to talk about, why do you put yourself there? Why do you do that? It's something that, I would show up at his house one day, and in our neighborhood, we have septic tanks. And there's this pump that he is buried. He is down in the hole, and the thing is the size of a barrel, but he's down in there, crunched himself in the most uncomfortable position. I wish I had the photo. But he pushes himself often. He pushes himself often.
I have to say this, just in passing, take 30 seconds. That particular septic down here, I couldn't reach it. I sent my wife down, because she could, that's a true story. So if you ever see a picture of me, she's there too.
So one of the things that I really want people to do is to be intentional. I have to be intentional. As kids, it is part of our day to play. Other things just get in the way of our play. But as we move into life, we might schedule time at the gym. Not too many things where we're interacting, but do that, the social part of it. Find a community, have someone that keeps you accountable. When my buddy is out of town, I don't make it out to my backyard gym as much. Same thing when I'm out of town, but he goes to a different gym. So there's systems you gotta put in place, and I think one of the most important things is put it in the calendar. We have to put it in the calendar. We'll forget, we'll come up with a reason why not to do it, and it's okay to be sore. I'm sore right now. I was sitting here stretching a little bit before I got up here, but I water skied and wakeboarded all week creating content, because I want people to know it is very important to keep moving. Keep moving. And I know that there's some, Dad, more than anything, he wanted to take the opportunity up here to thank people. And I know you want to do that.
Oh.
I'll put you on the spot like that.
Yeah, Dr. Bennis has been great. She picked up when I had to change doctors, and she's been great. My wife, of course, as I mentioned, and she's my caregiver. And thank your caregiver. They're the ones. They're the ones who really work hard and get the least amount of credit.
And we definitely do want to thank Cynthia. They have amazing information. I wish we had time for everyone, like, to hear what they're doing, connect with her. Dad, give us some takeaways. Things, I know you said diet and exercise.
Like I said, make your plan with your doctor. Make sure you agree with and take your medicine on time. I try to do that all the time, and if I make a mistake, you know, I pay.
All right, well, even just this last week, my dad was active. I had my video guy come along. We captured a little bit of moments. This is my dad at 81 years old this week. He's pretty good. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Dad.
I forgot to mention my son. He is, I kid you not, he is probably the best instructor in the country. It's amazing to watch him work.
Well, thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Another round of applause. Thank you so much for sharing your story. One thing that stood out to me, right? It's like, we can't give up. We have to feel uncomfortable, right? So let's say that after me. We have to feel uncomfortable. Again, we have to feel uncomfortable. We can't give up. Thank you once again for sharing such an inspirational story. There's hope.